What's up, everyone? It's your early summer, school's out, check-in. All of us are going through transformative periods in life right now, whether your schedule's changing up or you're starting a new job or ending an old one. We are all experiencing in our own individual ways rapid cycles of transformation, rapid change that maybe we've really wanted since early childhood and didn't have access to the resources to make it so. For some of us, there was someone who was living that while they were alive, the change that we needed in order to feel safe and be able to be our authentic selves, it couldn't happen while this person was living in earthside. Some of us have experienced loss financially. Some of us have experienced like some friendship breakup, feeling distanced from our families, all because we've been put in positions to respect our own personal and emotional boundaries more effectively and more authentically. I feel like there is this, I'm trying to untangle this necklace that I have, and this knot is actually a really great representation of sort of the transformations that we are experiencing. For some of us, there has been divine intervention that has suddenly untangled certain knots, emotional knots, social knots, like misunderstood communication or, convoluted miscommunication, that kind of energy. And because the element of fire is so prominent in my visualizations lately, especially imagery with the phoenix. I actually was in Phoenix, Arizona recently, and it's like as soon as I landed, every time I closed my eyes, I could see a phoenix. I actually also saw swans that seemed to be transforming into phoenixes. It was almost like a pair of phoenixes. And what I know about swans is that they actually mate for life. And look at that, I got the knot untangled. Swans mate for life. So I feel like what the transformations are coming to usher us into is to help us see those relationships that are meant to be lifelong. Not necessarily the relationships that, culturally we are trained to believe are to be lifelong, such as a relationship between a mother and child. Absolutely, there's a lifelong, inextricable connection there. But I think the ways that we interact with and engage those relationships, we're starting to have a better understanding of the boundaries that are necessary in order to have those relationships withstand the test of time. I'll definitely say more about that, but I do want to pull a card for us. One of the things that I channeled last week while I was in Phoenix was the idea of the mother Cancer energy, the mother and how Cancer represents the past, but also nostalgia and also that comfortable place that we can return to be nurtured, to rest, to be restored, to grow, and to kind of incubate, to be able to evolve into the versions of ourselves that can survive on our own. When we are in our mother's wombs, we need to be connected to her. It's necessary for our life force, for our life blood. But as soon as we exit the womb and that cord is cut, suddenly we have a responsibility, or we have a, not responsibility so much as sort of like a burden, I guess, to be independent, to maintain our lives independently from our mothers. As babies, we have to learn to self-soothe sometimes. We have to learn to latch so that we can receive our mother's milk, or we have to learn to be in the elements, like to not, our skin, sometimes babies will get rashes because the air is harsh. We become more reliant on ourselves, on our own bodies, our own personhood, because we simply cannot rely on our mothers the same way we did when we were in vitro. When we move out of our homes, we have to become, obviously there's more independent requirements of us. And the necessity of having emotional boundaries between ourselves and that comforting, replenishing home space, that nostalgic thing that anchors us to the past. If we don't have emotional boundaries with that person or that place or that thing, we will never thrive in the present or in the future. We become so reliant and dependent on what used to nourish us that we don't develop the skills and the strength to bring ourselves forward and be present in our own personal power. It's really important too that we acknowledge the ways that We are empowered by our home space, by our nurturers and our caregivers, but it's also really super important to have those practices of being assertive and standing our ground and knowing our worth. All of that is also Taurus energy as well. Taurus and Cancer, they both have this power quality that requires honoring the sources where we get our power, but also being strong in the source of power that comes from within and that can only come from within. We cannot receive power or be empowered by ourselves if we don't acknowledge it within ourselves first. I hope that makes sense. The card that I pulled is from the Comparison Killed the Creative deck. I love this deck so much. Amazing artists rooted in Phoenix, Arizona made this deck, and they're actually doing a May challenge. So I wanted to make sure that I definitely got back to this deck. This card, Run It, to me, this relates to what I've been channeling, because it's like, if you have the knowledge and the understanding that your personal power relies on your ability to acknowledge and practice it, then there's nothing getting in your way when it comes to taking action, moving on your own personal momentum, then maybe the fear of being rejected by folks who expect you to shrink yourself or to silence yourself in respect to tradition or in respect to culture or beliefs that you inherit that you don't necessarily build on your own. And Run It, to me, really means like, you have everything you need. It's never going to be perfect. If you're still waiting for the resources or materials to come through, or the approval to come through, or the fans or the likes, if you're waiting for that stuff, you will never ever take a step forward, or you're going to be running in a cycle and continuing a pattern of needing external validation to birth life-changing events, which is that Cancer energy, and to make transformative and lasting changes in life, which is sort of Scorpio, but also very Taurus energy to me, because it's like the steps that we take to enrich our own lives and our own identities, those do relate to the assets that we have, how we use our resources, how we allow ourselves to be a bridge, a channel from the heavens down to the earth, how we bring our idea of heaven down to earth and make it manifest in our realities. So I really think that it's also just an encouragement, sort of like a light some fire, again, fire, light some fire under your ass. I feel like that Scorpio full moon that we had this past Monday, super intense. So I just want to send like my heart out to all of you who had some sort of triggering event in your life that helped you remember, like, oh, this is why I'm here. This is why I experience anxiety or frustration or anger or resentment. These events come to remind me what's important to me. It's important to stand on our own business, on our own 2 feet, and not settle for quantity, but really endure so that we can receive the quality of life that we deserve. Wishing you all the best. Happy Taurus season.